So, for people who don't know, tell us a little bit about what you work on at Deno.
Sure. Yeah, I'm at the SRE team, working mostly on the Deno Deploy product, and yeah, currently specifically working on some improvements on our ClickHouse infrastructure. So,
We've been working on Deno Deploy for the past several months, and we're very excited to share with you the next version of it. One of the main, one of the things that we've added to this next version of Deno Deploy is automatic logs, traces, and metrics, and that's all thanks to Deno's new built-in OpenTelemetry support. So if you've been following along, Deno 2.1 added built-in OpenTelemetry, and in this version of Deno Deploy, you'll be able to access that. And Igor will show you more of that right now.
yeah, right. So let's build a demo app and use some of those capabilities. So I'm gonna create a new playground for this, and okay, this is it. And let's call it my cool app. Let's serve that and. Let's build that. What's going on? Function, my cool app. We're going to receive a request into this app, and we're going to send a response back, right? And let's say, let's build a response, right? So let's response message, say hello, Andy, and let's set the response status code. Oops. And let's return a new response, which is going to be, let's say, HTML. Oops. Response message. Let's close the HTML tag and probably have to give it some settings, right? So let's say that the status is the response status code, and let's get some headers as well. We'll provide some headers. Content type, right? Content type being text HTML. Okay, getting some curly brackets here. So I think we have to put this all around this, right? Okay.
Nice.
And that's it. So just this is just a basic application which we're going to deploy now, and it's building. If we wait just a bit more, it's going to build, and what we're going to get is what we have coded here, which is basically a
Great.
response, which is hello Andy. So why am I doing this? It's because I want to show you that we have visibility over this app. So we don't have any logs because in our code we are not logging anything yet, right? But we do get automatic tracing. So we have accessed the page previously, and this is an open telemetry trace. And if you see here, basically this is what's happening on our app. So we see a request getting in, and we are responding within 1.8 seconds in this case. All right. So what else can we do with this? We can obviously add some logs. So that's how we used to do that, which is a request arrived, and we get some logs here as well, and we'll see obviously the logs coming up, but on top of that, we'll be able to also link the logs to traces. So if we would not have the traces, and if you would just have this on your app without the open telemetry stuff, you would be getting a request arrived, a request arrived, a request arrived, and you wouldn't know in which request that happened, right?
Right.
But because we have tracing now, sorry, we have to access the web page, obviously. Because we have the traces now, we're gonna get the logs associated with that specific request. we need to wait here just a bit. Request
Cool.
arrived, and now we see a new request coming in, and we'll see one log associated, which is a request arrived. So if we would have seen and we will see here more requests, each one of them will have here, and obviously if I would have dynamic information depending on each request, that will be associated with it as well. So now we have logs and traces on our app, and we can separate the logs. Am I making sense, Andy? So the logs are going to be per request, and you were able to kind of make sense out of that.
Right. You'll be able to see all your logs associated with a single request, and if you're doing things like making a database operation or something, you'll be able to see that all within that single request.
Yes.
And it's all just from a console log, and that's great. I think before developers would have to manually include that kind of parent trace context in their logs to get this information, but I think
exactly. Yeah, and we covered in our blog post the details around it, but basically this is integrated as part of the Deno runtime now, and we don't have to explicitly set up tracing and all of that stuff to get this. But let's do something a bit more elaborate than this. Let's say that I want to get the URL or the path, actually. We want the path. Request path, which is going to be a URL from the request URL. Oops. And we want the path name. And let's split it by the / right? So now we are going to get, what are we going to get? We're going to get whatever comes after this / and then if we wanted to have more than one, we'll get them all split by that. So let's say that if our request path starts with I don't know, what should it be? Example, for instance. And what we want to do here is, let's say we want to have an example request, and let's do a fetch. Fetch to https example.org. And if the status code from, if we get success, we want to send the response message to something else. Let's say successful example. And and that's about it. So let's see what happens. Let's see what happens with this. So here, obviously, I have to turn this now into an async, and I have to say this is a promise because we are using an await now in the function. Okay. So basically, what happens is that if we now set example on the path, we're gonna fetch this website, and if we get a 200 HTTP status back, which is means success, we're gonna set here, a custom message for that case. So again, if we access this website without
You also increase the there we go.
Without example in the path, and now if we have it here, that's obviously what we get. But what's really cool about this is that we have integrated the fetch requests to automatically create a span. So each one of those lines is a span, and the fetch, there is always a root span that follows from beginning to the end of the serverless function that runs. Then when we can create specific spans for specific functions or whatever we want to track across that execution, and we give the fetch function for let's say for free. So for every fetch that we do, we're going to get that. So if we would be getting like errors here on our function, and that would be caused by us getting some kind of error from an upstream fetch server that we are fetching, we would be able to see this explicitly here.
That's great.
Just with super simple code, we have tons of observability on provided by OpenTelemetry. As you can see here, we're not doing anything on top of what we would normally do, and we get the logs and the traces and the spans associated with those traces completely for free, just by doing the code normal as we did, which is super cool.
So, which functions are automatically um, passed into like the span and the trace and the log? Like you mentioned, the fetch API. I think Deno.serve. I think there's another one of them.
Yes, so
Console.log.
serve is the base one. So that one is gonna always create the root span and fetch. And to be honest, I don't know. Andy, which other ones are automatic, but we can create one. Do we want to create one?
This is your demo. It's up to
All
you.
right. Okay. So let's say then that if the request path is something else, okay, let's say if the request path starts with I don't know, nap. And so if it starts with nap, what do we want to do? We want to, let's say, pass the how long we want the app to nap, to take a nap for. So let's say nap duration. And how do we get that? We're going to get that by from actually the into its integer. So what was the parse? Yeah, we want to parse into an integer, and what do we want to parse from? We want to parse that from, let's say, the second // and we need to get from there the number. So we're going to do that through a regular expression, and we want to say that if that starts with a digit, at least one digit, and ends as well with a digit, we want the first group from that.
Wow.
So what this means, it must start with a digit, it must end with a digit, and it has to have at least one digit. And these parentheses, they are basically a grouping, and the first grouping that we get is the 0 from the regular expression, right? Okay, so
you wrote that regular expression without having to look anything up.
well, the SREs kind of get used to those to using regular expressions.
That's amazing. Every time for me, I have to Google it and I have to just pick something up. And now I just ask ChatGPT. It's like way too complicated.
Yeah, actually, ChatGPT is pretty good with regular expressions. Yeah. Okay, so let's see. Well, just for good measure, if this is actually a number. So if it's not a number, this one we want to check if that's the nap duration. I don't know. Let's limit this to being smaller than 1,000 milliseconds. Okay, and if it's that, what we want to do is basically, let's call a nap function. And let's say also that the response message gets updated to what a nice nap that was. All right. So let's build that function. So function nap is going to get milliseconds, right? And the milliseconds are going to be a number. And it's going to be actually a void function because we're just going to take a nap. Okay, let's console log saying, I was asked to take an app for, I don't know, whatever milliseconds. So we're going to get a log once we get here. And after the log, we are actually going to just see if I remember how to do this. Promise. I think we're going to resolve something, right? Set timeout. Getting back to resolve. And in this case, it's going to be that. Okay. So what have we built here? It's basically that we can have now a path with an app, then we /, we give it a duration, and we are just going to sleep during that duration and not do anything other than logging that. And by doing this, we have a new function. And the only thing that we're doing is logging, right? So we're not going to get anything special in that case. But let's just make sure that this works. Let's call example once. Let's call nap. And let's say we take a nap for 200 milliseconds. Okay. And let's see what happens in the traces here. We don't get any span like we did with fetch, right? Because this is a custom function. And however, associated to the root span, we get that log that we created, right?
Yep.
So how do we create a span that shows us, that we are taking a nap or what's happening while we are taking a nap? This is relatively simple. I mean, it's very simple, but because we need to actually wrap this function with a function that gives us a span. So there's a from the OpenTelemetry library, we are able to create spans, and the only thing that we're going to do is we have a shell function or a wrapper function that's going to wrap around nap to give us that span over here, right? And actually, because I'm returning a promise, I just need to wait for that. Sure, I don't forget. So let's do that. And to do that, we're gonna actually go to the Deno blog, OpenTelemetry. And let's use DuckDuckGo for that. And Luca did a great presentation on the Deno hotel stuff when we released that. And he provided some examples here, which we're gonna use. And basically, he provided this wrapper function that I just talked about. So we're going to put that here on the top. And just for simplicity, we're not going to create any library for that. We're just going to use it like that. So now we have this weird function, let's say, but basically it's what's going to provide us that span that we talked about. So we have that, we have the function, and now we want to wrap that. How we can wrap that is just by saying with, for instance, with constant, it's going to be, let's wrap that with the function that we have. Let's give it a name, taking nap, for instance, and pass that function. That's it. Now, instead of calling the nap down here, we're going to call that wrap function. And this gives me some squiggly line here. And that's because now we get here the OpenTelemetry span object or attribute. And we can use it to set an attribute. And that attribute is going to be, nap duration in milliseconds. And we're going to give to that attribute a value of the milliseconds. Right? So that should be it. That should be it. So now, if I'm not wrong, we're going to get that span over here specific to that napping function. We get a build error here. I know what I think I know what's going on. Okay.
Is it an import statement?
Yeah. Okay, that's it. Yeah. So we have to use, as we are using this module now, we just have to add it to the install command. That's it. Okay.
Whoa.
That's it. Okay. So basically, that's installing the module we have just imported.
Could you also just add a npm or JSR specifier in the playground itself, or do you have to run that separate install command?
We can try it out.
I'm curious because I haven't actually played with it yet.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, so let's see if we are successful. So let's call this. Let's call example. Let's call the other endpoint that we created. Whoa, okay. Let's see if this demo works. So we have without anything in the path. That's what it is, just our log. Nothing
mhm,
special there. We have the example that's calling fetch, so it automatically creates the span. And
mhm.
let's see if now our span worked. Yay! So taking
Nice.
nap, which
So, yep.
is the name we gave it here, and the attribute. If we press there, we get the attribute, which is nap duration is milliseconds, 300, which is what we used here, right? And obviously, if you see like, oh, and then we get logs that are associated only with that span, right? So those
Mhm.
are logs that are specific to the nap span. And obviously, I mean, I think you can imagine if you get here a more complex application that's calling the database, that that's doing more complex things, you would be able to follow along and see the duration of each of those functions, if any one of them failed, and gives you an observability that that otherwise you wouldn't be able to get. And again, imagine that this would have been a 500 error. You would just press view logs here, and we automatically filter for the logs associated with that single request. And as you can see, on a very simple manner, you get huge amounts of observability over your application. And yeah, ClickHouse is the analytic storage stack that we are using for this, which allows us to do this so quickly. I mean, we are getting all these traces, logs, and metrics almost instantly. As we have been building this app, which I think is pretty cool and
Yeah,
probably unique.
that's awesome.
I say so.
Yeah, I mean, the typical setup is like, using Grafana Cloud or something, and having to either use that or a host self-host Grafana or something, and all that setup basically is
Yeah,
built into the platform, which is wonderful.
yeah. You can filter by time range, and do. In the future we'll have many more cool stuff around this. But I find this really helpful. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm suspicious because I work in the SRE team, and yeah, I really value observability of the applications. But this is, I think, it's really a next level in terms of being able to understand what's going on with your application, and then when something goes wrong, being able
Yep.
to understand and troubleshoot easily.
Yeah, wonderful. That's great. And this is all available immediately. It's available today. If you are part of Deno Deploy Early Access, and you deploy anything with that platform, you'll be able to see what Igor took us through today, immediately in your dashboard. So,
Yeah. Okay, and then let's just try
yeah, let's try the
what he was
specifiers.
saying, right? So let's remove that from here. See how that goes.
Huh.
There you go.
So yeah, so you could use specifiers and not have a separate install step. It seems. Um,
Man, Dino makes it so simple.
yeah, that's nice. Okay, cool. Well, thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah, I'm super
Yeah,
excited about it. So thanks for the opportunity to share this. I mean, most of my work is working on the back end of this stuff. So, like I said, hosting the analytics part of it. But it's really cool then seeing the rest of the team building such a cool product out of these things. And we have been having actually some good feedback from many users, and that's very pleasing as an engineer. So
great. Yeah, so if you have any questions about what you just saw, or if you are interested in trying it out, or have any comments, please leave a comment. We love hearing your feedback. Um, And yeah, I think that's it.